I wanted to just double back on the most intriguing people of the upcoming NFL season. When we talked about this yesterday offline, TJ, I kind of started jotting some names down. And just off the top of my head, and I knew that you kind of did the same. So let me just throw a few more names out to you guys that we didn't mention and just see what you think about this. I wrote down Saquon Barkley. I am super intrigued about what's going on there because we saw how Philadelphia ended the season last year. They were 10-1, and then were suddenly an unmitigated disaster and lost a playoff game that they shouldn't have. And so they go out and get Saquon Barkley. They take him from a division rival, which, as we've seen on Hard Knocks, which has been unbelievable. I don't know if you're caught up, Amy, but the Giants' Hard Knocks, I mean, the Raiders would have never allowed something like this, I'm sure. I looked at your front office during the offseason, but it's been great to see the team building. They kind of wanted to keep him. John Mara really wanted to keep Saquon, but they let him go to a division rival. What has he got left? You know, he's an older running back with a lot of injuries, with that Philly offensive line now, a new offensive coordinator, Jason Kelce gone. I think he's a really intriguing player this year.
Oh, he becomes one of the most exciting players on that entire team. And also, you know how I feel, Chris, about undervaluing a running back.
Right.
I could hug you again.
That makes me so upset.
I could hug you again. Look, the running game sets up the passing game. The passing game sets up the running game. For people who undervalue the running game, a quarterback's best friends, well, there's two best friends, the defense and the running game. Because if your opponent has to focus on shutting down a running back, that's less attention they can pay to your receivers, to coverage, to deep coverage, to rushing the quarterback. You got to stop the running back. Look, it's math. It's 11 on 11. And if you're having to devote men to stop an effective running game, you've got less men to do other things. By the way, Brockman, when you mentioned about the Raiders doing Hard Knocks in season, let me tell you how that would have gone while Al was alive and I was there. The league would have maybe called and said to Al or someone in the organization, we want to come in and do Hard Knocks. Within a second, my phone would have rung. Tell them no. Click. That would not have happened.
I was sure she was going to make a Saquon Barkley joke.
Oh my God! See, I'm not that fast, Suzy.
I was so waiting for it.
I'm not that quick like you are with the jokes. I will say about Saquon, I appreciate that he admitted he's going to have an edge when he plays the Giants. Yeah. We hear all the time from players and coaches facing their former team, yeah, it's just another game. No, it's not. How many times I sat there listening to a player or a coach say to the media, just another game, and then he'd walk away from the mic and he'd look at me. Of course, it's just not. And if you're the Giants and you know this, to have them go within your own division.
What else you got, Brock?
You know what, TJ, here's one that I thought that I think you're going to appreciate. I think Anthony Richardson is one of the most intriguing players this year because if you listen to all of the kind of off-season stuff, and a lot of it is kind of fantasy driven, but people think this guy could have the C.J. Stroud breakout and could be that two-way threat, the Jalen Hurts breakout. The guy played like 3 games and change and barely finished any of them last year, but at one point he had 18 fantasy points in like 6 minutes. This guy could be an absolute superstar in this league, and the Colts could be a top seed in the AFC, or, he could catch that injury bug again, and we're all kind of wondering what if, and did the Colts, reach taking him 2 years ago. I'm really intrigued by Anthony Richardson.
Well, of course you are, because let's face it, we have no idea what to expect from him.
It's all potential. It's all like
barely
clips and
seen
highlights.
He's got that prototypical giant body.
Yeah.
He's going to stand back there if he's healthy and sling it. But we really have no idea what to expect from him.
And they've got to find a fine line between coaching him to be his best and be the player he is.
He's a Cam Newton type, but maybe more athletic.
But also to not putting his body in harm's way as much as he does. And that's a fine line, because he is the player he is because of how he plays, but he plays in a manner that puts him at greater risk for injury.
We had that conversation on What the Football last year about, I think it may have been Tua, when Tua had to learn how to fall. He had to learn how to protect his body as he went down.
And he went and got coaching, and I think it was jiu-jitsu or some other martial art.
Something like that, yeah. And he played every game last year.
How to fall down, how to protect himself going down.
Yeah, paging that same coach to go to Indy. What else you got?
Oh, just the last one really quick. You mentioned Russell Wilson, but I want to stay in the AFC South. Stefon Diggs. I'm really interested in him leaving Buffalo. Obviously, there was something going on there, maybe between him and Josh Allen, maybe not, but it was clear that he needed a change of scenery, and now he goes to the surprise breakout team of 2023. We got a young quarterback. They have a lot of fun, scary weapons. They have Joe Mixon now. They have Tank Dell, and Nico Collins broke out. What is going to be his role? Is he there to be number one? Is he there to be the third guy? We don't really know. We know he can be temperamental at times, and I think he's a really intriguing play this year, Stefon Diggs.
I've yet to meet the wide receiver who's not temperamental at times. I've always said this throughout my career in the league, which was that was the one position, as a general rule, not every single one, but there were a lot of temperamental wide receivers. I thought there was a nice comment coming out of Houston where they were asked some of the points you just made about, he can be temperamental, he had problems in Buffalo, and they shut it down and they said, he's here, he's one of us, he wants to win, and I think it might be a happy home for him.
Yeah, you can say all those things in June and July, and then it's October and you're struggling or he's not getting the ball enough, and suddenly it's a bit different story. But
you're right.
I'm so curious to see how this is going to play out, because if you look at the absolute upside, why can't they go 14-3 and suddenly the road to the Super Bowl goes through Houston?
Well, I think that's a great point, and I'll tell you an analogous scenario is I've got my eye on up in Detroit. Was that a blip last year that Detroit did what they did, or are we going to see Detroit continue to do better? Nobody expected out of Houston what we saw last year. Nobody expected out of Detroit what we saw. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Maybe they expected it in Detroit.
Well, and they just paid Jared Goff like he is one of the best players in the league.
I'm sorry. I think you meant to say Jared Goff out of Cal Berkeley, Golden Bear Jared Goff. Isn't that what you meant to say?
Sorry, I misspoke. Jared Goff out of Cal Berkeley got himself paid like one of the best players in the league, where he's a different player on the road. So it's just got to be the consistency throughout the whole year, 17 games home and away for them. And like you said, is it going to just be, remember that fun Detroit season? That was really cool. Or are they really here to stay?
And I think, and the reason I brought that up is I think it's very analogous to what you pointed out about Houston. Maybe they will go on a run and, have another terrific season. We'll see. And same with Detroit.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.